Welcome back to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we don't have Ian here today, but I am joined by the lovely Emily Yale.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, a touring FPO player here in Utah, based out of Utah at least. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I started playing disc golf in the pandemic, much like many people.
Okay.
So I actually have a long sort of sports background. I swam competitively, like starting at the age of 5 through almost my senior year of undergrad. I found out I had a heart condition and I wasn't allowed to swim competitively anymore. So when I went to grad school after that, I needed a new sport, so I picked up ultimate frisbee.
Okay.
And that was good, but my knees didn't really think so. So before I moved to Utah, I had retired from ultimate, and when everything was shut down and all of your activities had to be outside, my husband and I, we had like a handful of disc golf discs that we had ever gotten, like basically from the ultimate days.
Yeah.
And there's a course near where we live, so we thought, hey, what if we tried to learn how to throw these things?
Yeah.
And many people have hobbies that they're interested in, they do on the side, but I'm like the type of person that if I've decided something is my hobby, I'm now obsessed with it.
Nice.
So we got super into it, super fast, trying to learn how to throw better, trying new discs, discovering there were other courses we could go to, and then getting into the competitive side of things.
Nice. So your first experience was playing here in Utah then?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. And now you've done a lot of traveling, right? You've played on the Pro Tour. You've toured. What's that kind of like, playing at different elevations and having to like relearn your discs and everything else like that? Yeah.
I think the first time I went to play at sea level, I was like, oh my God, I throw so much farther here. I'm not throwing any frisbees back home. I only throw frisbees here now.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. But it does always feel like every time is sort of a new, different adjustment unless I kind of stay at sea level for a while because, during the off season I'll work on things and try to like improve something, pick up some distance. So then there is a little bit of like recalibration that happens every time. But for the most part, it's been easier now that I sort of know what to expect, like more flip, more glide, and usually it just means to adjust, like more hyzer. So.
Gotcha. What was it like touring and like traveling from state to state? Were you like staying in hotels? Did you do the whole van life thing that a lot of people do? Like.
Yeah. So the very first time I went to any disc golf Pro Tour events, we were just flying out, getting a rental car, Airbnb. We would do like the one event and we would come back. And we did a handful of events like that. And for the next year I was going to have a partial card. So I wanted to be able to go like do extended stretches. So yeah, we got a Sprinter van, we got a Revel. Okay. So it's, already built out because we don't have the expertise to know how to do that.
Yeah.
And also I have 2 cats, and I love them, and they have to be with me. So that was another reason why we, we're going to go like the RV or the van route is to bring the cats with us, and because they need a place to live.
Yeah. It's like you can't just leave them for like a month on end.
Exactly.
And be like, hey, so I'll be back, I promise.
Yeah. So we got a van, we take the cats with us. We stay at campgrounds. So a little bit different, I think, than a lot of the touring pros. Like, I work full-time, so I have to have internet during the day, and I have to schedule my practice rounds, like, around when I'm working.
Yep.
So we have to be at a campground where we know, like, we can set up, we have a Starlink. We can set that up to get internet and be able to work all day and not worry about, like, data limits, too, because hotspotting is, like, another option, but... Yep. We're on calls and we're on video calls, and we would have blown through those limits for sure. Yeah. So,
was it kind of hard to balance that life of like still working full time while touring, and like, did you ever feel like your game kind of was just never there while you were traveling?
So last summer we had, I think, like a 10 events in a row stretch, and I realized towards the end of that, like, like that was too much for me. Like I definitely had like a very off week during during that stretch. And I go back and forth sometimes because on the one hand, I think actually I sort of like thrive in like very busy schedules. So it sort of forces this productivity out of you when you don't have any like real time to spare. So depending on, you know, what time zone we're in, it's like I'm fitting in an 8-hour workday and a 3-hour practice round and like feeding myself at some point. And and then that's your whole day. That's it. That's all you did.
Yep.
And it does get hard to sustain like that way of living for a long time, especially with driving a lot on the weekends too to get to the next place, because we can't sort of like casually do it on Monday. I think like a lot of people do. We need to be set up on Monday to be working. So we're driving like right after the round on Sunday, and that can be really, really tiring. This year, the way they've formed the schedule, there's a lot more breaks in between events. And so we're taking I'm like heading out literally in 2 weeks to go like for Champions Cup and like do the West Coast tour and stuff. And we're going to have our bikes for the off weeks to just like go be somewhere and like bike and probably play like a local course, but just we won't have as hectic of a week during those weeks, and I think that'll really help to decompress in between like the very busy like tour weeks.
Nice. Have you ever thought about going out to Europe for those events?
So I am going to Finland for Worlds.
Nice.
I'm really excited. We've booked our flights. It's a non-trivial length of time like to travel to get there, right? So you kind of like lose a day on both ends. And we have like full-time jobs too, so there's a little bit of like I'm taking literally like 2 full weeks off, which is probably the maximum length of time I would ever take in one go too. So to do all that just for Worlds, like it's not gonna let me fit in another event. But that's okay. Anyways, worry about that in future years if we want to play those events. We haven't figured out exactly what we're doing in terms of like, am I going to try to do like a side trip somewhere or something like that? Or are we just going to be in like Tampere the whole time and plan to like, you know, drive out to excursions? But I'm super excited for that. I would love to go to Krokle. And yeah, I'm sure the event in Tallinn is going to be sick too, but I can't swing all of that.
You'll have to let us know what the experience is kind of out there versus here, because like we always hear about people talking about like how different disc golf is there, how it's like looked at as more of like a big time sport versus here where people are like, oh, that's just a hobby, isn't it? Like you just do that in your free time, and it's like kind of getting that different vibe from everybody. That would be super cool to hear about.
I'm so excited to see, because you hear about like golf discs are everywhere, and like I swear like there was an ad for like Vino just like at a store downtown somewhere, like, you know. So
the fact that like Kristen's getting like welcomed home by the president of Estonia,
I know,
and stuff,
she's
and it's just
actual
like,
celebrity, right?
It's like holy crap, like it's like, oh yeah, she has all these sponsorships and everything else, and out here people like, you throw frisbees,
right?
It's like,
I know,
but like there is like just go look at that over there.
Exactly.
What has been your favorite course to play, like while touring, and then also just in general, like what style do you feel like you thrive in, kind of?
I think my favorite course that I played last year was Milo.
Okay.
Glendevere is really beautiful too, but it definitely did not suit me as much.
Yeah.
It's cool that they both got to stay on in this like combined format though. I'm really excited for that event. So super excited to play Milo again. It's just like, it's a really like beautiful piece of property to be in too.
I've managed to get up there for when they had the events going on, and I played at Blue Lake.
Okay.
While the event was going on at Milo, and then went over to Milo afterwards after I lost about 10 discs at Blue Lake. It was like, cool, I do not belong here.
Yeah.
And then played Milo afterwards, and it was a super fun course. But it is a very like pretty property, and just like, because you are in a state park.
Yeah.
Like, it's so nice and well maintained and everything.
It is. So around here, my favorite course is the 4 that, and that's, what I recommend to anyone coming. I think that's what everyone from Utah recommends probably. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I'm not really a big arm, so I would have thought like, oh, I'm kind of better at like technical courses, and that's like maybe backed up like a little bit by some of my results. Like I did well at Cascade. We're going to play that course again this year, so that should be good. I did well at KC Wide Open. That's like a half-wooded, half-open. But my first DGPT round that was under par was actually at OTB, which if you had asked me what's going to be your first time shooting under par, would I have picked like one of our Bomber courses? No.
Bomber Open course, which is like keep it in the fairway, close.
Yeah, but I think I'm fairly good at like control shots, and that is very beneficial. And of course, with a lot of out of bounds, which actually like OTB is not really, but I would say placement like definitely matters.
Yeah.
And I have a pretty good forehand, so that comes in handy. And when the wind picks up, because we deal with that a lot here, I'm usually still pretty confident about that. So.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like the forehand is kind of one of those things that I see you don't see as much in women's disc golf. Like, not a lot of people are super forehand dominant outside of like a Sarah Hokum or Kristen's got a good forehand, but her game all around.
Yeah, she almost looks like she prefers forehand these days too, which has been really interesting to see.
Throwing a lot of like flip up forehands with their peers that are just like
little touch shots.
How do you do that? Like, take for granted I roll my wrist on every forehand, but.
Well, as an ultimate player, that is like one of the things I'm good at, because you cannot just power an Ultra Star. You have to put a lot of spin on it. Yeah. So
you have to have that touch and spin and everything.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite person to play with? And then like who is like kind of the most competitive on tour at the time that was just always like focused in, wanted nothing to do with everybody else, just kind of,
Okay, so I don't have anyone that fits that second category, because for better or worse, I like only care about how I'm doing, and my goal was just to try to cash, and I would a couple times put myself in position to do that, and then the final round came around and I was like, what if I played myself out of that? My favorite person to play with is like my best friend on tour is Alexis Kerman, so she's my favorite person to play with. We are just there to like pump each other up the whole time, so that's always really fun. I have played with a lot of people that have been really great to play with, though. I have a lot of fun with like Deanne Carey when she's on my card. Raven Klein is super nice. I got to play with Paige last year. Nice. She's super cool. So I haven't had any bad experiences, so I don't have anyone that I don't want to play with, which is good.
Right. That's nice. Do you have anybody that you kind of like have looked up to within the game or anything like that? Like kind of like inspired by those people of like, cool, if I can figure out how to throw a forehand like this person, or have a well, like obviously I think everybody looks up towards like Kristen and a lot of the higher end people, but in general, like, do you have anybody that you're kind of like chasing or like?
That's a great question. I think one of the things I was thinking about last year was that like a little bit of a bigger picture, like what are they consistently doing well that like I could do better on as well. And most of that is just like consistent execution, I would say. And so I think Raven specifically, I think last year she like really showed that her ceiling was higher than the year previously, and she did so much better. And having the chance to play with her a couple times, I felt like I could see like, okay, like I think I can do a lot of what she is doing too, like, and she's gotten so much better, so like I could get better too, so she was probably one person that I thought of like, okay, like I see what she's doing and that seems reasonable for me to try to do too.
You're not like shooting for the moon on this, like,
well,
if I had a 400-foot forehand, it's like, most people don't have that.
I love when people are like, well, I could have shot 6 strokes better. And it's like, all right, you could have been a different player too, like for playing that game. So I mean, disc golf is not going to become, like, my only career, like, I'm not putting myself in the position to even think about that. Like, I'd have to probably actually quit my job and dedicate to it, and that's not something I even want to do. Like, I love my job, so I just would like to be competitive and be casting and have a good time out there too. Like, it's been awesome to travel and see different places, and truly I'm so stoked about the off weeks too, because I'm gonna get to see like Bend, Oregon, which I've always really wanted to go to. Got a week booked there.
Nice.
Bellingham has some sick mountain biking, so I booked a week there. So that's just gonna be really fun.
Heck yeah. Have you noticed that, like, being out on tour and playing, a lot more people kind of showing up to these events over time as well? Like,
Yes.
the growth, especially not just for like the men's, but also the women's, like coming out early for the rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Friday OTB, I was like second card out, but like Cap Merch was on the card. We had spectators. We're like the second card out on the first day, like, and we had spectators.
39 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So that was awesome. And I've gone out with like some other, players earlier on some of the earlier days, and had like a small gallery, which is really cool to see. And then, just to like see the groups that are following the chase and the lead cards too. Like they've definitely grown, and that's really cool to see.
Nice. Yeah, just kind of seeing the sport grow as a whole, where people are excited to get out and watch, and like, it almost doesn't even matter. I feel like a lot of times if you have lesser known names on cards now, people are more interested because they're like, how did you get here? I need to watch.
Yeah, and you can see so much more too when you can kind of like get up closer behind, and you can see how they're carving up the fairways, and you can see those putts better instead of being, kind of stuck behind the horde. So.
Yeah. I did that when I was at Milo, and it was just amazing to see people like, all right, I'm going to land over there. And you're like, I'm just trying to not hit something. Like, you're focused on this like 20-foot landing space. I'm focused on how do I not get myself in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, and I've even like given signatures out, and I'm like, I know you don't know who I am, but it's like,
one day.
It's been little kids, like little girls at some point who are like, or like a dad who's like, this is for my daughter. She's going to be so excited when I tell her everyone at the event signed it or something like that, which is really cool. So.
No, that's awesome. And it's only growing because it is coming here to Salt Lake again.
Yes.
We have the bid for 2026 U.S. Women's. They really need to work on their branding of names, because USWDGC is a little long.
It's a mouthful. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah. What are you most excited about that? I think for me personally, it's seeing mountain disc golf back on tour. I'm really excited to see how the players are able to overcome that like elevation change, play on a different unique course, like how much time they had to spend coming out early to work on stuff. And just to see like the community here kind of like bring it up even more. Yeah,
I'm really excited to see how players adjust to the elevation, because I do think that's going to be a little bit of a shock for a lot of players. Like, just for me to say like, oh, when I play at home, disc fly a little difference. Like, okay, well actually you're going up 5K higher than like where those courses are. So take that and magnify it even more. So I think that will be really cool to see. I hope that we have like plenty of time before for players to come in. It's been like a little bit of a frustration of mine that they seem to sandwich USWDGC between DGPT events, and we don't do that to the other majors, and I wish that we would stop doing it to USWDGC too. We're doing it this year. Like, the Preserve is right before it, and Des Moines is right after it. So it's a little bit annoying. I wish we would treat it like the major that it is, and give them, a break week before, at least. Especially because, I do think it will be worth having, like, making sure you get the right number of practice rounds in here.
Do you think it's because, like, it's a weird way to say it, but because it is a women's only event, they're a little bit less focused on like, cool, we just need to find a week to put this in versus, when...
I think that's shortchanging, Jeff and the team a little bit to say that it's that. Yeah. But to your point, I will say, like, making sure that the schedule makes sense from, like, timing and geographic perspectives, like, does force some decisions to be the way that they are. And so it has to make sense with how they are planning the other events and when those other events are and those things. And so I think that, like, forces their hand a little bit on it. I don't necessarily disagree that if it were a major for both divisions, it may have gotten treated differently. But it's tough to say because there are, other factors that go into creating the schedule.
Yeah, kind of like this year, how there's like two majors literally back to back. With each other because they're both out in Europe and like trying to.
Yeah, and people are not stoked about that, right?
Yeah.
So.
It's like, okay, we're really loading this section of the tour now. If you're not playing well here, you're just kind of out of it, like, no matter what.
Yeah, and I mean, that's to make it easier for players coming over to the U.S. to, like, fit it in, so they don't have to, like, be in Europe for 2 months to play them. But yeah, it comes at that cost, for sure, so.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's going to be fun when that comes here. I'm excited for everything that's happening and to see the kind of community bolster it up, hopefully, and make it that, like, big event that it deserves to be.
Yeah.
Especially being up in the mountains and kind of showcasing true mountain disc golf. Because, like, the Fort, I heard a lot of pros kind of, like, had problems there and were not very happy with the way that the tournament was not necessarily ran, but, like, how they were playing and everything that was going on during it. So it'll be real exciting to see how angry they get going up another 5,000 feet up to like 10K. And it's just like, oh yeah, I want to see if somebody comes out with like oxygen. There's like little oxygen things that are just like, oh, I'm not used to being up here.
Yeah. So what I will say though is it's going to be just the women, and the women complain way less than the men. So I'll be interested to see like what the feedback is in terms of like how they felt the course played and what they liked or didn't like about it. I mean, one of the things about the Fort is people felt there were like too many par threes. And so it's like, okay, we've gotten that feedback before. That's something we're going to think about when we think about the layout for US Women's too. So, I mean, that's a little bit more like constructive and useful, but it will be interesting to see how people feel about, how strenuous some of the practice rounds might be and things like that. And we will do our best as like the event team to make sure we're helping to mitigate those concerns. They have water and all of that, and we're advising them and, know, so at least it will be a little bit cooler up there.
Yeah, that's true. I also feel like the women are kind of in better shape than the guys half the time, especially when it comes to like something like disc golf.
Yeah. I mean, they make us get up early and play. We're warriors out there. So
you guys are like, oh, I got to be there at 5:30 to start warming up for
exactly.
a round. Like...
It's like the sun hasn't even come out yet, but I'm out.
Ready to go. Nice. What Let me ask you this as well. Are you a big part of Team Thunderpuss here in Salt Lake?
Yes. So Katie Sachery is, our founder. She is Team Thunderpuss, but I am a member of the board when she first created Team Thunderpuss. So I, support it a lot. I think I don't know like what my title says on the website actually. It might just be like social media manager. I run our Instagram. Okay. But obviously as a board we make a lot of other decisions about, what are we going to do with application decisions or with fundraising efforts and things like that.
Nice. Yeah, they've been doing a whole lot here in Salt Lake to do not just Katie, but Noelle and everybody else trying to get more women involved, especially playing in tournaments.
Yes.
Fundraising for having that female competition because there's a lot of tournaments you see where it's just like one or two people signed up for it. And it's like, cool, is it cost? Is it this? Is it that? And it's like trying to get people more into the sport. Yeah,
so great segue to talk about the Salty Queens series. So Patrick Christensen is running that. I'm his assistant director, which really means that Patrick thinks out loud to me, and I go, yes, Patrick,
You make it happen.
that is a good idea. Like, I'm your sounding board. But so he's running the competitive series that we're launching this summer. It's going to be 6 events, women only. We have like a point series that we'll be doing. It's kind of modeled after like the DGPT style points. So we're starting off with like Queen of the Hive in May is going to be our first event. You can get 150 points. Or is that right? I literally did the points, so I should know. Is it? Maybe it's right. Anyways, you can get extra points for your division for a win for that event. I think we have 17 people signed up so far, which honestly is pretty good. Because if you looked at the registration for the women's divisions and any other event so far this year, you would not even get to 7 if you were counting the women who are participating. So that's super awesome to see. And then we're going to have one every other month leading up to our finale event. One of the events is going to be at Brighton too, which is like the course where we're going to have FPO for U.S. women, so that's really exciting. We're going to be playing some of the other courses that the other divisions will be playing at U.S. Women's too, so it's kind of a chance for us to trial and test some of the layouts to the extent that we can, get some feedback from our local community, but really hoping to just like grow the women's competitive side here, because it is very disheartening to see that there are so few women signing up for events. And sometimes I think that there's this like snowballing effect in a way, but it's happening in reverse, which is like someone might be thinking about playing an event, but then they look and see no other women are signed up, so they don't bother signing up. But if somehow we could convince maybe the 5 of them that are thinking about that, like, to all just go do it, then maybe they would all play. But it's hard also when some of these local events are just doing things for the layout to cater to MPO, honestly. And so that's not a layout that like my amateur women in the area are going to enjoy. Like we have a lot of beginners in the area, and they want to play a course that they know, a layout that they know, and one where they can go get birdies and have fun and score. So they're not trying to play this contrived version that you created so it's the hardest possible layout Creekside could be in, So I think
we're going to the fort and playing blue gold layout.
Right,
it's like,
exactly.
I can't make it across the river.
So I certainly think that's a factor, and then just that snowballing thing. Hopefully cost is not too much of the limiting factor. I do think like we do our best to advertise that those TTP sponsorships are available for local women if they do feel like the registration is prohibitive for them. Like, hey, like apply for a sponsorship. We have money, we want to give it to you, So hopefully that's not too much of an issue. And it will hopefully get more of them to come out, play when it's just them, shotgun, play with all your friends, on a layout that's for you, like, get a decent rating, have a good time.
I feel like it can be very intimidating in general, because, like, I know when I was also a pandemic baby as far as playing disc golf. And, like, showing up to Creekside on, like, a Tuesday at 5 o'clock when everybody's in the parking lot getting ready to do doubles and everything else, and it was just like, I need to not be here right now. Like, I'm in the way. And I feel like that can be very intimidating for a lot of people, especially women trying to get into the sport, where you show up and you're the only person, the only woman there, around 40 other dudes, and it's just like, hey, how's it going? It's like,
absolutely.
I'm a little intimidated. It's
like, you don't know like the reception that you're gonna have and how people are gonna treat you. I've literally only played random draw doubles once, and I can score under par on a DGPT course, and I'm stressed that I'm gonna go and end up with someone who's really mad he's partnered with me. And so just imagine if you're actually like new starting out, like no way, dude, that's terrifying.
Well, and a lot of times you think that like that is being part of a local league, and it's like, well, that's yes but no but yes, and it's just like trying to get those people into the community, because I have friends that are like, I want to go play, but I'm only going if you're coming. And it's just like trying to get those people to be like, all right, cool, you clearly like playing disc golf. We need to get you out to just like go out and meet people and like.
Yeah. That's why Noelle Covey, who runs our women's league, like, that's why that has been, like, so huge in the community, too, because it is that casual place where women can come play. But, I mean, it's Tuesdays only, so if Tuesdays, you know, doesn't work for you or you can't get there on time, we would love for more of those women to be showing up at other leagues, be showing up at other events, because they know that the community is going to be supportive when they get there.
Yeah. And it helps that she does that, where it's like she's basically just badgering all the guys, like, bring your girlfriends, bring anybody, like, bring a female, let them make friends, and then we could see where things go.
Yes, because like... we kick the dudes out. Like, someone wanted to have their, you know, SL caddy, and we're like, I'm sorry, you actually can't. Like, he has to go play by himself. You know, it's just, it's part of making sure that everyone is going to be comfortable in that environment, because I've ended up with playing with someone who had literally never thrown a disc before, but somehow a friend of hers knew Noelle and told her, like, just show up. They'll give you discs and you'll have fun. And let me tell you, she freaking crushed it, okay?
Nice. Yeah, you'd be surprised. Some people, like, one of my sister-in-law kind of got into it. And she'd start throwing it, and it's like, all right, let me give you the right disc now. And then the second you do that, it's like, wow.
Yeah,
like,
And this is how we get them hooked, is that wow moment. So.
Oh, I remember we were playing up at Brighton, hole 18, and threw it. Big turnover with like a detour or something mid-range that was a little bit flippy, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna hit the chair, and it just kept going forever.
Like 700 feet.
Like past the basket all the way down into like hole 8 stretch there. And she's like, how is it down here? It's like, yep, that's that feeling of just like, oh wow, like, I can play disc, like I can throw.
Yeah. The first time, you know, it really does what you wanted it to do.
Yeah.
There's nothing feels better than that. I still think that.
Yeah. What's the biggest thing within the sport that you would kind of like to see as it grows? Whether it's local scene here, like I know you guys are doing a lot, like you said, with like the sponsorships and everything else, or even on the Pro Tour, like kind of what is the one thing that you could kind of point out that you're like, I wish that like disc golf would do this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think mostly about kind of like the competitive side. And so, you know, I'm thinking like sanctioned events and whatnot. And I think more TDs need to just be willing to accept a little bit more work to make sure their event is actually like enticing to the women in the area to play. So often that means like actually considering what layout should they be on that's going to be good for them, because a huge concern is, I know this is locally and probably not exclusive to our area, is like, if I go play this event, my rating is going to take a hit. Like, I could shoot what will be a good round for me, but it's going to rate poorly because of who I'm getting propagated against and the layout I've been put on. So I think that's a really important consideration. Also, they finally made it, like, mandatory that you have to have a bathroom, but it's insane to me that no one bothered to take 30 seconds to think about that beforehand. Like, we can't all just, like, pee on any tree we see comfortably, you know?
Yeah.
Like just taking the time to make sure there's gonna be a bathroom, it's gonna be clean, it's gonna be accessible. Hey, maybe there's gonna be 2 bathrooms out there.
Yeah.
Clean and accessible. Like, that is such a huge deal for women when they're playing. Like, men just cannot relate to this concern that we have about this, and it makes a really big difference.
Yeah. Unless you're up at Roots and the bathroom's not there and you have to get number 2, and then you're just like, I gotta run to the gas station down the street.
But imagine if that was always how you were.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think those things are very important for local events to consider, and like, don't be afraid to like talk to the women in your area and get their feedback about, well, like, you know, what do they like or what do they not like? Like, if they're playing one event but not playing another event, like, what is the reason for that? Is it the course? Is it who's running it? Is it when the event is? Like, there's all sorts of things to consider. And when there are not a lot of women in the field, like, think about who you card them with when you have to, like, make the decisions about, you know, combining them with, like, another division. Like, women don't play with the juniors, right? Like, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I understand this happened to me in the tunnel runner who ran the event, like, apologized profusely for it. Like, yeah, we're going to want to do certain things, like keep pros separate from AMs, and that's going to, like, maybe force some decisions, and, like, that's sort of, like, okay, too, but, you know, keep in mind, like, they want to be playing with, like, their peers.
Right.
Not with people that they're, like, wildly better than or wildly younger than, or,
yeah.
you know, like, and they don't want to play with the juniors, so they're not out there to babysit for you.
Well, and I've even seen it with, like, they get carded with people that are, like, either very slow or, like, again, some of the older folks,
yeah.
like the MA 60, 50 people. And then people are like, oh, we're stuck behind the ladies card again, building up backup. And it's like, it's not even us. It's like the two dudes
but
that are taking forever on the course out here.
That's such a great point that you're bringing up, though, too, because that can be the perception that ends up happening. It makes the women feel stressed, and it does not help create, like, a welcoming environment after if there's this, like, tension between, like, well, you play slow, so I don't want you to play, and it's like, well, I'm playing as fast as I can, but...
Right. I'm sitting here waiting for the guy that's taking 45 seconds to putt that I'm not going to sit here and call time on every single time, because it's like, it's not that serious.
Sure.
But also,
yeah,
it's causing chaos throughout the you know, tournament for a little while.
Yeah. So those are some of the things I think you can think about, like, from a local event perspective, to try to take into consideration. Make sure that what you're running is something that women want to come play. And then, you know, if you can run women's only events, like, I do think, like, those are the best places to start and can be the best environments for women who are newer to competition to come out and play, because it's just, you just know you're not going to have any of those types of issues, right? So,
have you ever been carded on, like, local tournaments where you're, like, you're playing FPO and you've been carded with, like, FA3, FA4 competitors, and it's like, I don't know if it would be, like, really intimidating for them, kind of like, it's like, cool, I get to throw 3 times before we even get to Emily's drive. Like...
Yeah, right. So I would say, like, that's one of the things you probably don't want to do, potentially. So there's a balance there, right? Like, on the one hand, like, maybe that's how you kept the women together and you thought that would be the right choice. And maybe it is the right choice. It is okay. I mean, I play in the ladies' league, so, like, yeah, that sort of thing happens at league nights. I've never been carded, like, at a sanctioned event with, I've only played with, like, an FA1 before, and even that, like, I was kind of like, pros and AMs shouldn't be, but but I also understood, like, we only had, like, one FA1, and, like, you didn't want to make her play with all the men when we could keep all the women together, so there's a balance in, like, what is the right choice, because I do think it could be a bad experience for the FA3 player, and, like, you know, maybe I don't care, but also, like, that's certainly impacting my pace of play too, and that could be detrimental.
Yeah, I think that's something that we all have to, like, think about, like, as the sport continues to grow and everything else like that. Like,
yeah, I just think, like, would you have ever put an MA1 dude with the MPO dudes? No, you wouldn't have. And so if your answer's so, like, cut and dry, no, I would never do that on the men's side, well, then, like, why are you doing it on the women's side? Yeah. You know?
Although the one year... The only reason Ian and
it did happen to you.
So the way Ian and I actually met was Creekside Open 2 years ago. 2 years ago now, I think. I was on lead card for MA2, and he signed up for MA1, not knowing.
Okay, but you're both.
We're both AMs. But he was bottom of MA1 and I was top of MA2. So they ended up, like, carding us to make, like, because it had to be groups of 5 and, like,
it was, like, maximum.
Got to figure out all that stuff. So I don't think obviously that tournament they split MPO and AM weekends. So different tournament weekends.
Okay,
Which is something that could also be exciting if we're able to grow the women's sport more and be able to do things like that where you can have an AM weekend and a pro weekend, so
Yeah.
people don't feel so intimidated sometimes.
For sure. And then, yeah, like I was saying, like, generally when you're out there, you want to be playing with your peers, right? Like,
Yeah.
and almost to some extent, people who are, like, a little bit better than you, like, keeping your competitive edge there, you know? So you just don't want to have, like, these wildly incompatible groupings out there, because it's going to create weird pace of play for probably both players.
Yep.
And not necessarily be like conducive to sign me up to go do that again.
Yeah.
So.
It's like, oh wow, that was A, intimidating, and B, I felt like I shouldn't have been there.
Right. Like that's the worst thing I would want like a woman at a disc golf event feels like I shouldn't be here. It's like I hate that.
Yeah. You know, I'm excited for the Salty Queens events. I know we're gonna try to get out and film a bunch of those.
Awesome.
Get some shots of the ladies throwing and everything else.
For sure.
And kind of try to take some of that feedback as well on like the course layouts and everything, because it's always interesting to hear the difference between the men's and the women's. Because like for me, I throw like 400 feet, not really that great, but I feel like I relate more to like the FPO division.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, I see you throw that shot, and I'm like, on my best day I can throw that shot. But like it's like always so interesting to see the differences in like the layouts and how people interact with like, cool, you have a 600-foot par 4 or a 400-foot par 3, and it's like, what are we doing here? I can throw 2 300-foot shots, I can't throw a 400-foot shot.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And like how the short game plays out tends to be like very different too. And so I often say too, like a 930 rated dude is not the same as a 930 rated woman. They don't play the same game. Even though they achieve their rating to be the same, like it did not happen because they played the holes the same way, I'll tell you that.
Do you think there should be more not divisions, but like how we kind of rate people is a little skewed, because like I might play 3 sanctioned tournaments a year, right? And I was telling Ian this, and he's like, well, what do you want your rating to be and everything else? And it's like, dude, I don't play enough to really be like competitive. Like I need to hit 950 this year or whatever. It's like throw a 1,000 rated sanctioned round would be cool, but also I don't have that many rounds to do it in. And it's like, I know I can do it at some point throughout the year, like playing. But do we think we should like kind of change divisions, not necessarily based on like distance or anything else like that? Like should there be other factors into how we group people together?
So this is a topic I've discussed like in the Ultiworld Discord, which I'm a member of. So, and so someone proposed, he was like, I think women should have their own SSA, their own scratch scoring average. So that's like how the ratings get calculated. And right now there's just one. And so like everyone playing, you know, on the same layout gets measured against that.
Right.
And he was saying like, I really think we should have a separate one for women. And it wouldn't be by division. It would be like all women, but we would be graded effectively on our own curve. And initially I was like, I don't know, like is that the answer? Does that like induce some weird things? Like what would it look like to implement that? And I don't know the answer, but lately I've been feeling like maybe that is not a bad idea though. I think part of the struggle too is the courses we have around here are open, and I feel like that exposes the most about the difference between like how the men and the women are playing, because when like to your point, like you can throw 400 feet presumably with some amount of airspace, but like, you know, maybe your short game's not super sharp.
Whole 18 at roots I can throw.
Yeah. So if what we were playing all the time was like, you know, tighter, shorter, wooded fairways, like maybe you and I get more to like a level playing ground, even though I don't have 400 on an open field.
Right.
And so in some parts of the country, like more of the courses they're playing are those shorter, tighter, wooded courses, and maybe they don't feel like the differences are as significant on those types of courses, but it just feels like we feel it like acutely here because of where we play. Like I won't play in the sanctioned River Bottoms League because I'm in the A pool and I'm just gonna get annihilated out there. Like,
and
there's two like 400 plus par threes that it's like I'm hoping for a 3, like with
into a headwind that's like 40 miles an hour at some point.
With where the OB is, it's not even like I can try to straight bite off distance too. It's like I have to go at it like in a triangle, and it's so much harder for me. So maybe that is not the worst idea to try to consider. It would help if we had at least like double-digit participation in the PDGA of women too, because maybe we don't have like the data or the numbers to support like actually building and growing that right now, but it could be an idea we keep in the back of our head as something moving forward. Because I do have to think about like, if I go play these things, I'm gonna take a ratings hit. What does that mean for me? What am I trying to register for, and what threshold am I meeting for like whatever? It's like, I was like, I can take some hits, so I've played some local events. You know, I'm trying to get back up to speed anyways. But it was like, because I've already secured my world's registration tier, so I can take a ratings hit now.
That was something that surprised me about the Pro Tour, was finding out like the whole like ratings, even here with some of the events going on, like you can register based on your rating at certain dates. And it's like, cool, the higher you're rated, the earlier you can register for
the more, you know, guaranteed your schedule can be and all of that. It's a huge advantage. So
I wonder if like having, again, doing something like that where it changes your ratings up a little bit would allow more people to like register ahead of time and know like, cool, if I can't register this for another month, it's like something might have happened in that month. Then I'm like, cool, now I definitely don't want to. Versus like, oh, I had this commitment, let me figure it out. Like,
that's such a great point. Because that's exactly what I think about when I think about like regional level women trying to break into the larger scene. Like, if I imagine that they're sort of in a similar environment as we are here, then like, I know it's so hard to get to be 900 rated. It's like you have to somehow have gotten the chance to go play the events where you're on your own layout against your peers and against like higher rated women. But there's that like chicken and egg problem of like, but if I'm rated this, then I can't get into that event too. So that's also why I'm like, could we be doing something to make women's ratings like better, feel more like fair relative to how they're playing, and not be a potential detriment to playing an event.
Have you played a lot out in like Colorado and Idaho, and like, because surrounding areas out here are, you know, an 8-hour drive to go play a course in Denver, you know, playing, what is that, the 303 out in Denver, or the big one up in Idaho is like a 4-hour drive, or six and a half to Vegas for the Vegas Challenge. Like, it's a long ways for somebody to like travel to those events that would be, like you said, competitive and have a field.
So, you say that. Okay. So 303 typically has a good field. That's like worth the trek. Vegas will have a good field. That's worth the trek. I was like gonna play PVO last year and there were only 2 other women signed up, and I something else was going on that was like the larger factor in deciding to drop, but like realizing I had no field and I knew I was going to be on the MPO layout propagated against MPO, so I was going to also get bad ratings. It's like, okay, never mind. Like, that's not worth it anymore. So, it can be really hard in areas of the country like this where even, like, branching out doesn't necessarily guarantee you that field that you can go play. But 303 in Vegas, at least you know, like, you'll have a field, you'll be on a different layout, so...
You might have that, like, hit like 20 maybe FPO players there to where it's like, okay, at least we have
like group. I think I'm gonna try to play Colorado States this year. I don't remember, I think registration opened for some ratings based. but also I was like, for women it won't fill up right away, so I'm not super worried, but I mean, I hope that there's a field for that. So
have you ever run into a tournament where the FPO or just women's field in general did fill up?
Yes. So on several DGPT events there is a wait list.
Okay.
That was one of the things, I don't know if it was like 2 years ago. Like some of the touring women basically like argued to like Jeff Spring and the team, like, you need to open up more spots for us. Like our field is growing and we need more spots. I think typically we start the event with no one left on the wait list, like after Monday qualifier. Although I think typically that ends up being true.
Okay.
But it's often because there are last minute like late drops. And so you might be looking at the registration like till before and think like, oh, like there are actually women who are like they're not going to get in. But I don't, some of the big AM events fill too, and they have wait lists as well. Like US Women's this year, there's a wait list for FA1, I know.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's a huge wait list for one of the FJ divisions, which is causing an uproar too. Because I read the comments. I'm like, what do we need to do for our event? But so
FJ especially, because you think about like the juniors getting into the sport.
Yeah, I think it's like FJ 12 specifically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of 12-year-olds trying to play this event. So.
I mean, it's not a bad thing for the sport.
That was
like
awesome.
the more you can have them in at a younger age, the more they realize that it's not just like a hobby sport.
Yes.
And like,
yeah, exactly.
Again, it's growing that crowd of women and just people in general into disc golf as well. Like, you know. We played against Sam and Carter and got our butts kicked. Like, those kids know how to throw really well and like learning from a young age. It's like, that is the future of where we're going.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
Like, we need to see more and more of that, not less of...
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's how all sports grow, is like you end up with that youth pipeline that like feeds those elite athletes of tomorrow. So
yeah, the European soccer teams, they grab them when they're like 10 years old.
Oh yeah,
they're like, you want to join the
go
Manchester club?
School.
Yeah, you want to join.
We play a lot of soccer.
It's like, so you're going to go to school for 2 hours a day and play soccer for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And
yeah, exactly.
You'll be our new striker in 10 years, but we'll get you there.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what we need.
Nice. Were you able to play this weekend at the Spring Fling?
I thought long and hard until like the last possible moment, like, do I want to sign up and play? But well, as you know, I broke my ankle in January. I haven't even been weight bearing yet for 6 weeks.
Oh dang, it's been that short?
Yeah, I'm coming up on 6 weeks being able to walk, and so I still don't do that without limping.
Gotcha.
I have played, like I mentioned, I played some events like on short courses, like Creekside and Art Dye.
Yeah.
And Art Dye is actually a little physically demanding for me with some of the hills.
I haven't played the new layout yet.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah, I need to get down there.
Yeah. It's so cleaned up.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like, you're not just like throwing into random fields anymore?
No,
like...
it looks great. Like, so many of like the small like trees and brush and everything, like the fairways are so much better to find. Tee pads are like new and big, like
nice.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Not throwing on weird cobblestones that were just like 2 feet wide at one point, and you're like...
There is still the weird pavement on what is not hole 1 anymore, but what you will know
the circle.
But but so the circle's the short pad now too. There's a long pad
that's down by where 17th basket was.
Yes. So,
I've seen the layout. I just haven't gotten down there to actually like, because I get the property, but when you change that much of it, like, a lot changes when you start looking at it and going, oh wow, that makes way more sense now.
Yes, it definitely does. The flow is much better now. But I played the 4 to see like, can I even like make it through the whole course? And I could, but I was like dying at the end. I was like, you have to get me off my feet now.
Yeah. And
so I thought like, okay, but like you would have the whole day to recover. You could probably like go out and do it the next day. I just felt unconvinced a little bit though that I was really going to be like comfortable out there, and if it's going to be a distraction or more importantly like set me back potentially, then it's not worth it. So ultimately I decided not to play, even though I really wanted to play with Katie and Charlotte, and I don't know Lillian, but I'm sure I wanted to play with her too. So it was disappointing not to play in the end, but I felt like it probably just was going to be too hard for me. Like,
The smarter move.
my physical therapist today was already telling me, like, Champions Cup is going to be my first event back. She was already telling me, like, that's probably going to be, like, too hard. And she's like, and you're probably going to be dying after. And I was like, but I only have to do it for 4 days, and then then I get a whole week off.
There's lots of ibuprofen that I can take.
Yeah. And I am gonna practice with a golf cart too,
Nice.
which I don't typically do, except like at Portland I have, like, for time constraints. But like last year I practiced OTB, I just walked. But this year I'm definitely practicing with the golf cart because some of the walks between holes, like, forget how long the actual course is, like, that's the number they tell you, and you're like, wow, it's a long course, is hiding, like, some of the walks between the holes.
Yeah.
And so is a lot more walking than just the holes themselves. So I am going to get a golf cart so I can keep some of the strain down during the practice days, and then, you know, just suffer during the tournament. But it'll be
Better.
worth it. Yeah.
Wonder if they're ever going to come out with, like, the carts, like, you know, those luggages that are now, like, have a motor in them that, like, zip around
you can
on
just
if you get to
on
sit
it.
on your
Yeah.
cart and just, like, go from hole to hole.
That would be funny. I would.
The next disc golf
I
invention.
know. Well, I have to wonder, like, would the PDGA allow that, or would they not like that? I don't know. So
I mean, they haven't even taken away headphones yet in, like, competitive play, which is kind of shocking to me because, like, I'm doing a triathlon this summer, and I was, like, looking into the rules. I've done a few in the past, and my buddy was like, what's the one thing that I need to know? And it's like, you're not allowed to wear headphones. And he's like, cool, I get it, you're swimming. And it's like, no, throughout any of it, you're not allowed to wear headphones. And he's like, dude, I'm just trying to finish. I'm not competing or doing anything. And it's like one of the rules that you have to, like, sign off on when you, like, become a member.
Okay,
Because you have to do the whole thing with the membership like we do with disc golf. You have to do the same thing. And it was just astounding that it's like, cool. Because to them, it's like, oh, well, what if you have a coach in your ear telling you, like, yeah, your watts are too low, or, like, you need to do this or that. Like, and it's like, well, you can, in theory, you could have that in disc golf where somebody's like, at the end.
They show Gannon watching the broadcast to be like, oh, where did Luke's shot land? Like, come on.
It's like, how is this, like, how are we allowing that within competitive play to be like, I'm getting an advantage because you threw first.
Yeah.
And I got to see where you landed. And like, nobody else can see because it's, like, out of tunnel to the left. And it's like, did he get far enough?
Right.
Who knows? And Gannon's like,
watch it.
Yep, he's too far. All right, got it. Lay up. Like,
I love that you brought that up because I always say that's my disc golf hot take is I would ban headphones. And some people feel so strongly like, no, we shouldn't. And I'm like, name me one sport where you can compete at the highest level wearing headphones. Like, you can't.
Well, and it's just one of those things where it's like, cool, I get it at, like, your local tournaments and stuff like that. And I think that's where the other hot take is that we need to have different rules between PDGA and
the GGPT.
Like
I think
normal...
that's probably, like, very lukewarm at this point.
Yeah.
Like, people definitely understand, like, we could treat those two different. But it definitely used to be hot, but I think now people are coming around to it, for sure.
Because, like, just in general with everything, like, imagine changing the jump putt rule for, like, women's disc golf. Again, especially, like, local scene women's disc golf, where it's like, I'm throwing from 60 feet.
I know, like, that's not a putt. Like, yes. I talk about that too. Like Circle 2 stats just don't mean the same thing for, like, women as they do for men. Because it is, like, not all of Circle 2 is a viable putt range for 99% of the field.
Yeah.
So, like, the just outside, like, like, that's where those Circle 2 putters are, they're making their money is, like, you know, 45 and in. But, like, put everyone at 50 and out, and it's like no one's percentages there are good. Yeah. So if someone's having a great Circle 2 day on the women's field, it's like, well, it's probably shallow Circle 2 that they're mostly hitting from.
It's like,
but
they were just
those stats.
No, we don't. It's always interesting because, like, I found it funny too that, like, Kristen stopped jump putting because of the
people
photos.
lit her up online.
Yeah, because of the photos, and so now whenever, like, I have that same style jump putt because I really like the fact that I can, like, use both my legs, and then my landing foot is the line that I'm trying to throw, essentially. So for me, mentally, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, all right, gotta break out the cheater putt real quick here. And like,
Yeah, I think she's, you know, broken out the jump from like farther when it's more obviously like an approach. And I doubt, well, I hope like the trolls are not lighting her up for that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to hear her talk about how she changed because of like all of that. But I don't know, I like the style she has now, like, quite a bit, and, like, she does know it's super legal. I think, like,
she just generates so much power.
Yeah. She's got, like, great spin coming out with that wrist, so, I mean, there are some of the men who, like, clearly care a lot about making sure that their, you know, whatever their step form is, like, legal, too, and it's probably due to, like, the same sort of, like, scrutiny as well, so, you know, it wouldn't be the worst thing if more people cared about following the rules instead of, you know, basically daring their card to call them on it. So,
I mean, same thing with the OB lines and everything out. Like, there's just so much within the sport that I think that's also what makes it hard for people to get into is like, it is kind of complicated. And again, the intimidation factor of like playing in a tournament and somebody being like, well, am I out of bounds? And it's like, Dude, I don't know. Like, do you want me to call something? Like, what am I supposed to do here?
Yeah.
Like,
we had a brand new player on my card for the Creekside Tunnel Runner event, and so it was a little bit of some teaching, like, going on with, some of the things that you just wouldn't think about if you were only a casual player, like marking your disc and, like, needing to literally drop in the putter into the cage, even if you're right there. Not just like, or just pick up and walk away because it's like, no, I need you to actually, yes, you need to mark it, you need to drop it in, or you need to drop in a different disc, but like, you haven't completed the hole yet. Yeah. And so, introduce more complicated rules like Mandos and OB, and it's like, that can be really tough.
Yeah. No, it's definitely funny. I've played with a lot of people that are like, this is my first tournament, and I was like, all right, biggest thing, just always mark your disc. And like, sure enough, tap in like under the basket, just picks it up and drops it in. And I'm like, you're good. Next time, mark your disc. Like, not gonna call it. We're not playing. You're clearly not winning anything here.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal. Just, you know, hey, or like I've become a real big habit of like, if I'm within 10 feet, I just putt with something else.
Sure.
Like, I just don't even grab like that putter off the ground.
Right.
Just like, all right, I'm
remember,
close enough.
You could drop in a different disc.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I always found that I had an experience one time where some guy was like, hey, can I use that real quick?
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, just give me your disc. And then he just drops it in. And it's like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah.
Understood now. Like,
yeah.
At first I was so confused. I was like, what do you mean? Why do you want my disc? Like,
yeah. I watched some of Danny, I don't know his last name, the Dynamic Discs guy. I watched some of his rules videos before my first tournament because I was so stressed about making sure I knew like all the rules and I did the right thing. But I guess like I even like knew to do that to some extent. Like I could see you like coming in like more blind than that, like not even realizing that like you don't know what you don't know.
Well, and like you said, sometimes it's like a friend of a friend, like a friend of Noelle's is just like show up and you did and you're like, okay, now what do I do?
Right.
Like,
and league is a great place to learn for sure, but not every league you're going to go to are people going to take the time to try to like help a new person like learn the rules too, because it is a league, so unless it's sanctioned, it doesn't matter too. So I think that's one of the cool things that we do like at the women's league too, is like actually try to help teach the rules too, and you can see that it's shared across like everyone on the card too. Will like, you have a question about something, like let me explain this to you, or like, hey, it doesn't matter in this setting, but if you played a tournament, this is what you would have to do, and like finding the right moments to kind of share some of those things. So I feel like that's awesome. Yeah.
No, it's been fun seeing the sport grow, seeing the ladies. I love the shirts they have. Like, you can always pick them out of a crowd.
Yes.
You're like, oh, there's Team Thunderpuss.
Yes, exactly.
I know some people are a little intimidated by the name.
Yes. It's just a cat.
Yes.
Yes, Katie chose the name.
Like, I was not a part of that
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah. I was like, I'm supportive, but would it have been what I would have picked? Probably not, but I'm supportive. So.
Yeah. 'Cause I've definitely told some people about it, and they're like, "What did you just say?"
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, just look it up.
Yeah,
You-
yeah. It's a
you
cat.
know,
It's a cat.
yeah. We're all adults here.
Yeah, we are.
That's kind of the problem.
Yes.
But did want to give a shout out to all the ladies that did play this weekend
Yes.
up at Spring Fling.
Yes.
You had 3 in FPO, Katie Twos, Charlotte,
Christensen.
yeah, and Lillian Waite.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah. Dude, saying some people's names
Yeah.
is just, I don't know how announcers do it sometimes.
A lot of times they ask beforehand.
Yeah. Like with Kristen's new last name, I found it so funny that they've switched now 3 different times.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think
it's like-
it's supposed to be more like let.
Yes.
Yes, that's how she said it in
Yes.
a video. So.
But it's like, her husband's been a touring pro for years. Have we not figured this out yet?
Well, it just seemed like no one cared about saying his name right. So, poor guy.
Like,
At least
Sil-
we'll say
Silver,
it right now.
Yeah. Silver's like, hey guys.
I know.
And then we had one FP40 woman, Sheila Teves, and then 2 FP50, Michelle Montgomery and Wendy McGee, and then 1 FA40, Molly Lay.
Sick.
Nice. Great to see them all out
Yeah.
there. I wonder if, yeah, like you were saying though, in this instance, right? You have 6 women in the pro division
And one.
in the M division.
Yeah, we could pull the data to see what they did for cards, but my guess is it would have been FPO on one card, FP40 and FP50 on another card, and then FA40 would have been playing with MA40, but I'm guessing, so I don't know what they actually ended up doing. But yeah, that's an excellent
prime example of,
of what do we want to do with this. So
yeah. And then we did have a lot of Utah guys up there, obviously. Kai Kim finishing in 3rd, Malachi in 5th. That's a great round for Malachi. I'm always interested in the layouts that they choose for that event, especially like you were saying per division, right? Because this year I decided I'm playing MPO just because more so than not, like, don't really care about like cashing an MA1 or anything else like that. So it's like, cool, just play MPO. If I do manage to cash, I get real money.
It's real money.
Instead of like credits to another amount. Like, I'm already here enough. I don't need more credits. You know, having some gas money or lunch money would be kind of nice.
Exactly.
But now I've been looking at different layouts, obviously, because I'm playing in different layouts.
Right.
And like their choice of like to play a blue gold mix at the fort and then a mix at the North Fort / the fort with like a bigger layout. I think they played like a 20 hole.
Yeah, I think that
round.
was all. It's now the observatory, I think is.
Okay.
And I think that was all North Fort. I don't know like what the layout looks like there, but I know they've done a lot of work and a lot of it is new. If all you saw of it was even last year, I think a lot of it would be new to you this year is what I've heard.
Okay, because I played in the Q series last year.
That was just at the fort. Oh, no,
No, because I was still in the M
No,
division.
you played in the North Fort. Yeah.
Yeah, which I had my whole gripes about that whole thing.
Yeah.
Of playing an A tier and having 2 days on a course that's kind of mushed together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it's tough. It's just it's hard
I
to
feel
get
like
everyone
again,
through.
especially with the ladies too. Like, that's another.
Well, we
thing
didn't
where
have to play the North Fort, so.
Yeah. But I mean, just in general, like, I feel like you guys kind of get shafted sometimes, where it's just like, oh, well, we didn't know what layout to put you in, so we made things shorter. We have you teeing off from over here instead of like a tee pad. And,
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah. Some of that is really like frustrating for sure.
We had a big turnout. 51 guys showed up. Chaz DNF'd on the last day. Wonder what happened with Chaz.
Hopefully he's okay.
Gotta text him and see if it's injury related or anything else like that. But yeah, that tournament it can be really fun up there. I have my gripes with it because of the timing that it's at. Like, I get that it's a spring tournament, but like was it 2 years ago we were playing in 2 feet of snow?
Yeah,
Like,
you
during
do
a
not
blizzard,
know what weather
like-
you're gonna get this time of year.
Yeah.
So
And
it's variable.
We're supposed to get snow on Thursday,
Right.
so there was a chance
Right.
that like
Yeah.
could have another
For sure,
situation
for
come
sure.
in here. I think that's one of my other, things with picking and choosing tournaments is like location, timing. Like we have a lot of tournaments I've seen in the past where we're playing on open courses in July in Utah.
Yeah, and you're just
it's
gonna
like-
melt out there.
It's like, how are we getting people to show up for this that are either new to the sport or something else like that when you're
Yeah.
like, all right, guys, you're going to spend 4 hours in 100-degree weather with no shade.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I've been to like A tiers where like they didn't put water out. It's like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna die out there.
But it's great seeing some ladies out there,
Definitely.
especially for the local scene here.
Yeah.
I know, like you said, we have a lot more signed up for the first Team Thunderpuss event.
Yes.
That's going to be very interesting to see how you guys. I'm just so interested in like the layouts that are picked and everything else.
Yeah.
For it, because I think
Yeah.
it can.
We're
be
gonna
really
have
cool.
2 pools, like for sure, at all of the events. So should be on a competitive layout for your peers. Should be
Nice.
good.
And then we do have Love Doves coming up as well. April 26th.
Yes.
I know Noelle has been badgering me about that, and I will not be in the state.
We're up to 21 for Queen of the Hive. Let's go.
Nice. Any more FPOs? FPO. Yeah, five in
5
FPO right now.
Awesome.
Nice. A lot more in FA3.
Yeah, FA2, FA3, FA4. Let's go.
Yeah. I do find that like I see a lot more of like the consistency with like the older crowd for signing up for a lot of those tournaments. Like the FA40, FA50, where it's like, I don't know if it's just like the I have time to go out and play kind of thing.
Maybe.
But yeah, that'll be awesome at Creekside coming up here. That's gonna be super fun.
Yeah.
I will be there the whole time. Any juniors signed up yet? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Do we have a whole lot of juniors? I know somebody's trying to get like courses and into like classes and things like that out here.
I am not familiar with junior women in the area,
Okay.
but would love for them to show up.
Yeah.
If we have any, so.
Nice.
To be fair, I don't know everyone in the area in
Yeah.
general because I am gone for long stretches.
That's fair. It's very fair. I wonder how that tournament plays out for like the Salty Hive series. Kind of draws more back into the rest of the scene around here, where if
Yeah.
we see like
I
Utah
would
States
love
and
that
Creekside
to
Open
happen.
to have like a lot
Yeah.
bigger numbers because they're
Yes.
like, oh, I've played a tournament here. I get
Exactly,
it.
exactly. And again, it's about sometimes acquiring that critical mass. Like, so, like, we have 5 people in some of those amateur women's division. Okay, like, can 3 of them, like, all collectively decide they're going to go play something else? It's like,
Yep.
then you kind of get to take your same little bubble with you across to these other events.
And then keep growing it.
Yeah, you get the reps and the experience and what you know is going to be like a comfortable, welcoming environment, and then that gives you the confidence to go play those other events. And I would love to see that. So I really hope that is what we see from this series. I mean, we're really planning for like the longevity of it as well too. So like we're gonna run it again next year, and especially with US Women's coming here, I hope that it builds up a solid base of Utah women that are gonna compete like at US Women's.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. This Love Doves, 132 people signed up for Love Doves.
People love Love Dubs. Noelle and Alex run an excellent event.
Yes. But what that tells me as well is half of that has to be
I know,
female competitors.
I know.
So where are the rest of them that are showing up for this?
I know some of them are like don't like sort of like otherwise play.
Yeah.
But again, this could be another one of those events where like maybe we convince you to come to Ladies League after.
Yep.
And you come to Ladies League a couple of times, then we convince you to play a Salty Queens event.
Yep.
And then before you know it, you're competing in your first major next year. Like, you know, this is the dream. This is what we want to see. So
yeah. It's definitely that event where I feel like you can drag somebody. You're like, I'm playing in a doubles tournament.
Yeah.
I need a partner.
Yes.
You're my friend. You're coming with me.
Yes, exactly.
I don't care. You're not paying for it. Like,
Exactly.
don't worry about it. But
Exactly.
you're coming.
Yeah.
Like, and like you said, that kind of gets them into it. And they're like, oh, that was kind of fun. We should do
Right.
that again. It's like,
Right, because
cool.
you get to play with other women, you know, who are
Yep.
part of the other pairs on your card, and like, so yeah.
Well, I know, again, going back to my sister-in-law getting into playing disc golf, one of her first experiences was playing with, do you know Josh from Dead Outside Disc Golf? Big beard, Rothberry.
I'm sure that I
Yes.
am embarrassing myself by drawing a blank, but I am terrible.
We played at his, the mental health
Okay,
tournament
okay.
that he has coming up here
Awesome.
May 17th, which
Love
is
that.
great. But it is another like doubles thing. So he was playing with his wife, and she was like following because Ian and I were playing together during the doubles, and she was like following. And she's like, I got to hang out with his wife while they were playing and see everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you can see now that it's like
Right.
less intimidating and having
Exactly.
that like couples thing going into it and being
Exactly.
like, all right, now I get like
Right.
it would be fun to do this actually.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's great what you guys are doing for the sport, for the community
Yes.
around here, and just everything in general.
Yeah, Noelle, Katie, Patrick, tangentially me, Charlotte. they're putting in a ton of work, and a lot of the things that they're building are super important to growing our scene here.
I do think, though, you're selling yourself short. It does help the fact that you are on trading cards.
Okay,
And
that was
like,
cool.
and
I had
being
like
seen,
a little fan moment for myself on that.
I do have your card. I need to bring it.
Nice.
But like seeing that like pro tour, having a pro tour player that you can watch that's local to you also I think helps grow, because then you're like, oh cool, this isn't so distant. Like it is still like here.
It makes it a little bit more tangible, and you can kind of like see it, you know.
And you're like, oh, you're a real person. Got it.
yeah,
Like
yeah, for sure. I do think that matters. So.
Yeah. So don't sell yourself short
Yeah,
on that.
yeah. I just want to, give credit.
Yeah.
So.
Real quick before we wrap up here, what do you think about the Go Throw Tour events?
I think it's an interesting idea to be running like unsanctioned events. I feel like, for me, it is probably not that much of an appeal, almost because, like the big events I get to play out on the road are like where I can do a lot of work on my rating if I play well. And so
Right.
that's pretty important to me. And so like going to play an event where I'm not going to get a rating is maybe like a little negative for me. But I do think there's an audience for what they're doing. Like obviously like GK Pro filming is of interest, although I feel like their focus is more on the men though, and so I'm kind of, I'm less about that in a way, because
Yeah.
I want to see, like the event they just had, like there were no FPO, like
Oh,
yeah.
well, I gotta.
They
find
called
this.
it the Masters Invitational.
Yes.
And it was men only.
Because
So-
it ran the same week as the Golf Masters.
As the actual Masters.
Yeah.
The real Masters.
And they played. They played at Eagles Crossing. Which
yeah.
I don't. That's another course that like would that be designed well for FPL? Like
I think the focus into the design has purely been like an MPO championship level course. Like that was the first goal. There are like other, tee pads, there are other pin positions. So I feel like, given all of the available options, you could probably put together a layout for the FPO. I don't think that's been a priority of what they're doing like at the venue though, so it's kind of like tough to say without any like effort going into that.
Yeah.
Like we've literally never seen women play there, right? So we don't know what kind of decisions they would want to make to do that. So I'm sure that there are plenty of people out there enjoying the coverage of the Go Throw events. It's probably not for me personally, but
because I think the last event they only had like 9 FPO show up to it or something.
Yeah,
like that,
and that's not awful per se. But yeah, I mean, like, there were other A tiers going on that same weekend, and that's where a lot of the touring FPO went. Because I also think to some extent, like, if you have a contract that requires that you play a certain number of events, like a Go Throw event is not going to count towards your contract requirements. So you may be making sure that you get your sanctioned events in there to satisfy those requirements, and then, like, on top of that, consider some of the Go Throw events.
Yeah.
There are also women who, like, just don't want to play every weekend, just like there are men who don't want to play every weekend. If they have an off-tour weekend, they're going to just actually take it off, so.
Yeah. When we saw with this one, there were only 32
Yeah, it was
guys.
invite only, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know
only
that.
32 were allowed to play.
Well, and that kind of goes back to the whole, like, I understand the tour from a concept of if we're filming people that, like, also might be growing within the sport that don't get as much time on, like, lead cards and things like that, and it's like all of a sudden you get to see a lot of those lower names that, like, are still very good but aren't always in the spotlight. Yeah. And it's like that could be a really cool tour for them if it's catered that way.
Yeah,
but if
and
you
if
only
the
have like
payouts are good too, you know, like if you can go and there's added cash that, like, makes it worth your time, because that's another very, like, genuine concern, like, especially, like, let's say there's multiple A tiers, that's like, well, who has more added cash?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's always interesting because this being invite only, and it's like cool. You get to see AB, Adam Hammes, Scannenberg, Calvin. It's like cool. I get to see them every week.
I've never seen those guys.
Yeah. It's like, oh, how is this? That was my thing with the whole Q Series thing, too, when they allowed pros to play in the Q Series events. And it's like, are we trying to do this to get, like, cards? And if people are taking, like, cash away from other people that are, like, maybe this is part of, like, how you save up to then get on tour next year.
Right, yeah. I do think they're trying to think about, like, how could they more build out that, like, secondary kind of tour, so that it is kind of like what you're saying is, like, the more obvious stepping stone to getting onto the full tour, and we don't allow tour card holders to come play those events. The way they did, like, the points and everything, it didn't matter that, like, tour card holders were there per se.
Right, but they were still, like, taking cash out of that
there's
pot.
still cash.
Like, that's what I'm saying, though, is, like, you as a potentially growing touring professional, you show up to an event and you're like, cool, I got 100 points to get on tour next year, and I made $50.
Yeah. Well, and how the points and stuff got allocated, it was almost like it was better for you to have played Q Series later in the year, because then more of the tour card, like, after the tour card spots were, like, guaranteed, because the only people that got excluded to start were people who had been in the tour championship and therefore had the secured. But it was like, so I got, you know, points below some people that was like, I know they're gonna get a tour card this year, like, I should get all the points. But it worked out fine for me anyways, and, you know, I'm sure there's things they'll think about to kind of improve that system, and if in the future they're not allowed to play at all, it's a non-issue, because we do see that kind of, like, 2-tier system in golf.
The Corn Ferry Tour and the PGA Tour.
Right.
Where the it took me so long to get PDGA, right? Because I just would always say PGA.
Yes.
That now I can't go back. If you're on, like, the big tour, you're not allowed to play on the Corn Ferry Tour kind of thing. And it's like, well, it's like, why would you? It's like, because they have a lot of money in golf.
Right,
There's not a lot of money in disc golf yet, so everybody's like, what tournament can I cash in? Sweet.
Right. Like, the guys going out on the Corn Ferry Tour are still, like, sponsored at a level we don't, like, have quite.
They're like, Kristen sponsored, playing on Corn Ferry.
Right, like, they're still full-time pros, and we're just talking about, like, how do we try to let regional pros who probably have full-time jobs, like, work their way up? So it's pretty different still.
I think that's all I had for you.
Okay.
It's a nice long one this week.
Well, I talk a lot, so
Well, and it's nice to hear like that perspective of things too, because we don't, you know, the two dumbasses here normally are not that informed on what's going on with the rest of the world, and you have real life experience being a part of the tour, being a touring female, and being in the sport, and kind of like I said, we have big things coming out to Salt Lake that are
we do.
Women's
Super
related,
excited.
So it's super exciting to be able to talk to you and get that insight and everything else.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the opportunity. So, sorry, not sorry you couldn't be here, Ian.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure if he was here, he'd be chewing your ear out as well.
I'm sure.
But hey, thanks everybody. See you next week.